trafficking and production of illegal substances is big business. So big, in fact, that some U.S. government officials believe the combined annual revenue of all Mexican cartels is more than $500 billion. That might be an exaggeration, but there is no doubt that cartels like the Sinaloa cartel are making unbelievable amounts of money, even more than some Fortune 500 companies. Americans buy $150 billion worth of illicit substances each year, and much of it comes from Mexico. Here's a look at how Mexico's cartels rose to power and created a massive underground empire. During this time, Juan Mata Ballesteros served as a liaison between the Guadalajara cartel and the Cali cartel, which resulted in more drugs pouring into the U.S. from Mexico. The Guadalajara cartel took a 50% cut of the drugs it transported from Colombia. As trafficking increased, the Guadalajara cartel was flush with cash, earning as much as $5 billion annually. In 1989, the arrest of Gallardo sent shockwaves through the Guadalajara cartel, and the group splintered into 4 separate factions: the Sinaloa cartel, the Juarez cartel, the Tijuana cartel, and the Sonora cartel. They fought fiercely for territory, but it was Joaquin Elchapo Guzman's Sinaloa cartel that gained the upper hand. The 1990s were a decade of stark contrast for the Medellin cartel and Sinaloa cartel. The death of Pablo Escobar in 1993 marked the end of the Medellin cartel. Some of Escobar's $30 billion fortune was seized, but much of his hidden cash was never recovered. With the Medellin cartel gone and U.S. law enforcement putting a stranglehold on Caribbean drug trafficking routes, the Sinaloa cartel filled the void and Mexico became the predominant drug trafficking route. The Sinaloa cartel continued to gain strength even with Elchapo behind bars. He was arrested in Guatemala in 1993 and extradited to Mexico, where he was sentenced to 20 years. It turns out, prison was the perfect place for Elchapo to run his criminal empire. He gained full control of the Sinaloa cartel in 1995 thanks to his innovative smuggling methods, which included building tunnels under the U.S.-Mexico border and bribing authorities. In 2001, Elchapo put his ill-gotten gains to good use. He bribed his way out of a Mexican federal prison by reportedly paying guards $2.5 million. It was a paltry fee for Elchapo, as the Sinaloa cartel was becoming more profitable each year. The U.S. and Mexican authorities offered an $8.8 million reward for Elchapo's capture, but he remained a fugitive. His freedom allowed him to seize territory from rival cartels and add additional trafficking routes. As the Mexican government arrested rival cartel leaders, the Sinaloa cartel continued to expand. Splinter groups emerged and turf battles ensued. A wave of unprecedented violence swept through Mexico, allowing Elchapo to gain near monopoly on the drug trade. Before long, the Sinaloa cartel crossed $1 billion in annual revenue by controlling drug markets in nearly every state in the U.S. and Mexico. Elchapo's 2014 arrest didn't slow down the Sinaloa cartel or any of its rivals. He escaped just 1 year later via a tunnel in his jail cell. He was recaptured in 2016 following a shootout and extradited to the United States. He was sentenced to life in prison, and the assets he gained from his illicit activities were seized. Those assets were worth between $12.6 billion and $14 billion. Despite Elchapo's arrest, the Sinaloa cartel remains Mexico's most dominant cartel, and officials believe the group's annual revenue could be as high as $39 billion. The cartel is also believed to be a major contributor to the opioid crisis.